supposed to do the presentation today? Sindel, please. After Sindel is gonna be Cristina, then Kevin, Jarlindy, Jorge, Liliana, and we finish with Jessica. Yeah? In case we want to respect the order, but if you want to be first and you don't mind or you don't care about the order of the list, doesn't matter. You can start. Los demás escuchan y preparan preguntas para sus compañeros. Ya vamos. Empezando.
Ya, ya puedo compartirlo.
Yes.
Ya. Okay. My theme is eating disorder. Here's what are eating behavior disorders or ED? And there are serious mental illnesses that are related to altered behaviors events of eating habits, which translate into behaviors that range from uncontrolled eating to not eating food. Features. They can affect of any age, sex, race, or socioeconomic level. Also, they most often start in adolescent or young adulthood and affect women to greater extent than men. Mainly, biological and personality factors influence their appearance. IED subtypes are characterized by alternate eating behavior or the appearance of weight control behaviors. The symptoms of eating disorders often vary over time in many people. Who initially present more restrictive conditions may end up developing binge eating or vice versa. Eating disorders are associated with multiple medical and psychological complications and affect the person's psychosocial functioning. Causal or risk factor. First is genetic or biological. Hereditary or biological factors such as physical and psychological changes that occur at puberty. Second, psychological and personality traits such as perfectionism, rigidity, impulsiveness, and obsession. Lack of assertiveness, low self-esteem, lack of autonomy, social withdrawal, or the presence of a previous mental disorder or a stressful life event. Three, family members. Lack of communications, low conflict resolutions, overprotection, rigidity, mixture of family roles, or unstructured families. And finally is sociocultural. And what is key in the development of ED? First, tiny as an ideal of beauty and synonymous with social and personal success imposed by the media and TV, internet, etc. The proliferation of unhealthy lifestyle habits facilitates overweight and obesity, which is social projected, which promotes the start of uncontrolled diets, more extreme exercise. The current clothing size system, not on file, has an impact on the individual promotion this type of disorder. And certain profession and sport also promote them. For types of eating disorder, that's important. First is anorexia nervosa. It is characterized by a restriction and resolution of nutritional intake, which leads to significant weight loss. The person has an intense fear of gaining weight. The second is bulimia nervosa. Binge eating is considered to be eating an amount of food clearly greater than what most people can take in a given period of time. And binge eating disorder, characterized by recurrent episodes of binge eating. And finally, how to help. Don't get frustrated if they don't recognize they have a problem and refuse professional help. Try to talk to someone close to them and sound the alarm. And avoid directing comments about their physical appearance. Avoiding also talking about diet, calories. No, you will only get their weight loss behavior to be reinforced. Take an interest in other areas or your life other than food and your image. And finally, due to their low self-esteem and feeling of inferiority, it is important to make positive reinforcement, raising other areas of their person other than weight and image. Thank you.
Okay, questions? Do you have any question for your friend? Liliana?
Me, teacher? Yes. Do these eating disorders affect women and
Can you repeat that, the question, please?
do eating disorders affect women or men more?
What group does these eating disorders mainly affect? Females or males?
Affects both, but more women.
Why?
Because
You know, no? We ladies know why the things affects more us than men. Because our organisms, our body has something different that the men doesn't or don't have, right?
yeah, and the because the negative question affect more the woman.
Cinder, when it's time to say, okay, I am suffering or I am being affected by the eating behavior disorder, how can a person realize about it?
What, teacher?
How can a person notice that he or she is suffering by the eating behavior disorders? Okay, Maria Cristina, please.
Good morning, teacher and classmates. Um, through body language, you can tell if a person is lying, attending to the body. For example, a person while telling a lie is likely to be constantly touching his face, running his hands over his face, throat, and mouth. Body language. What is body language? Body language refers to the nonverbal signals that we use to communicate. These nonverbals make up a huge part of daily communication. In fact, body language may account for between 60% to 65% of all communication. So why is body language important? Body language can help us understand others and ourselves. It provides us with information about how people may be feeling in a given situation. We can also use body language to express emotions or intentions. Facial expressions. The expressions on a person's face is like reading somebody's feelings, and it can even help determine if we trust or believe what the individual is saying. The eyes. The eyes are frequently referred to as windows to the soul. You have heard this phrase, haven't you? So that you can know what the person is feeling or thinking. They are three types or gestures of their eyes. The first is eye gaze. When a person looks directly into your eyes while giving a conversation, it indicates that they are interested and paying attention. However, prolonged eye contact can feel threatening. Blinking. People often blink more rapidly when they are feeling distressed or uncomfortable. Infrequent blinking may indicate that a person is intentionally trying to control his or her eye movements. Pupil size. Pupil size can be a very subtle nonverbal communication signal, while light levels in the environment control pupil dilatation. Sometimes emotions can also cause small changes in pupil size. The mouth. Mouth expressions and movements can also be essential in reading body language. For example, chewing on the bottom lip indicate that the individual is experiencing feelings of worry, fear, or insecurity. Gestures. Gestures can be some of the most direct and obvious body language signals. Waving, pointing, and using the fingers to indicate numerical amounts are all very common and easy to understand gestures. Some gestures may be cultural. However, so giving a thumbs up or peace sign in another country might be a completely different meaning. The arms and legs. The arms and legs can also be useful in conveying nonverbal information. Crossing the arms can indicate defensiveness, and crossing legs away from another person may indicate dislike or discomfort with that individual. Then we have types of these gestures. Crossed arms might indicate that a person feels defensive, self-protective, or closed off. Standing with hand placed on the hips can be an indication that a person is ready and in control, or it can also possibly be a sign of aggressiveness. Clasping the hands behind the back might indicate that a person is feeling bored, anxious, or even angry. Rapidly tapping fingers or fidgeting can be a sign that a person is bored, impatient, or frustrated. And crossed legs can indicate that a person is feeling closed off or in need of privacy. The posture. How we hold our bodies can also serve as an important part of body language. The term posture refers to how we hold our bodies as well as the overall physical form of an individual. Posture can convey a wealth of information about how a person is feeling, as well as hints about personality characteristics, such as whether a person is confident, open, or submissive. Sitting up straight, for example, may indicate that a person is focused and paying attention to what's going on. Sitting with the body hunched forward, on the other hand, can imply that a person is bored or indifferent. Thank you.
Any question for Maria Cristina? Yes, Yarlindi.
And Christina, why do you think this is an important topic?
It's an important topic because with body language, you can know how a person is feeling or what is thinking. So I think it's important to know what are these body language or gestures or postures for a person.
Okay, Maria Cristina, my question. You know that in body language, according to the culture and according to the place, there might be some misunderstanding. Have you experienced any like that? That you thought looking at the person and you saw the person doing some body language, but you interpret in a different way of the original meaning?
Not to me, but to a friend, yes, that for example, when he point a person, well, in other culture, point a person like this is very disgusting. So they say that you have to point like this.
Okay, Maria Cristina, thank you. And you know what is this, no, for us? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Like, I will
It's
shoot
another.
you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Maria Cristina. Thank you very much. The comments and the grades are for individually, obviously, by the chat of the Zoom, okay? There you have your grade too, Maria Cristina. Who's next, please? We don't have more presentation?
Yes, next teacher.
Yes, Kevin.
Okay. Okay. You can see, teacher. Yes, okay.
Yes, Kevin.
Good morning, teacher, and good morning, classmates. I'm going to talk about violent video games and the effect they have on children's behavior and grades. First of all, the video games have been around for the 30 years, for the last 30 years, and in the same way, they have changed many times during the 30 days, as well as the type of game system in which they are played. For example, the video games and their systems are now of a high quality with 3D graphics and are highly interactive with players. This makes the player feel like they are part of the game. They also require more player attention than watching a movie, for example. On the one hand, the video games have negative effects in the children's. For example, the games that include graphic violence, sexual themes, illegal drugs use, and profanity can cause addiction and a violent behavior. They can learn skills related with weapons, makes children less loving and helpful to others and their peers, make children more hostile, make children argue and fight more, health problems such as obesity and posture, increased level of depression and anxiety levels along with impulsive behaviors and attention. Make things more aggressive, causing them to clash with their teachers, get into more fights, and have a decrease in schoolwork. In addition, the video games have more negative effect than television violences due to repetitive acts of violence. Teaching children to wrong values such as violent behavior. According to an investigation in the US, the children with low academic level tend to prefer more violent video games than boys with high or average academic level. Boys with lower educational level also had a greater perception that the games were real and identify more with the characters in the game. On the other hand, the video games also have positive effects on the children, such as they can improve dexterity, for example, they can build a broad of capacity for concentration, teaches multitasking by changing variables and handling multiple objects, teach quiet thinking and the ability to make quiet decisions also. And in some cases, occasions, the battle games, for example, for example, can train players for real life situations like teamwork, leadership, and critical thinking. According to my top of video games, for example, I play many types of video games. Most of them are violent, and I feel that aggressive children tend to choose violent video games more than video games that make them aggressive. However, that is not always the case because I play video games for fun in some cases and to talk to my friends online. I think of it as an escape from day-to-day activities. I also feel that video games have positive effects on children that parents don't always think about. Finally, I believe that the way to prevent bad behaviors in children caused by video games is discuss the game with the children and explain to them how balance in the games looks different than how it occurs in the real world, for example. Monitor and control the effects that violent video games have on children. Don't allow game system in the bedroom. This is too important because this is something they can do all night without control. And finally, set limits on how long games are allowed to be played. With that, I conclude my presentation, teacher.
Okay, Kevin. Questions for Kevin?
You can see. Okay.
Okay, Kevin, I have a question. You say that the video games have also good effects on children. But when we say that those video games have good effects, are you talking about the violent video games or other type of games?
I'm going to talk about violent video games and also fun video games, for example, Mario or something like that. Because in violent video games, for example, you can do a team to work well and do one activity, and you have take the principal character to do the best and something like that, for example. But I have the video games have more
Next question, Kevin.
Okay, teacher.
Don't you think that video games can also become an addiction?
Yes, because in my experience, when I was a child, I play video games all the afternoon, for example, but my mother put me a limit in my house, right? But I think in the 2022, this is too important because the children don't have enough information, and the graphic of the video games had been include something like that, like sexual video games or algo something. And I think it's too important to talk with your sons or your brothers and take limits.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you,
And
teacher.
the games these days, in comparison to the past, are more aggressive, no? Are more aggressive and have kind of forbidden contents for children, let's say. Okay. Personally, I don't like video games. I consider that there are other forms to become multitasking, to learn things, and like this, no? But this is my personal opinion. Okay, now Rivera Yarlindi.
You can see my screen.
Yes, who is
Okay.
on fashion?
Good morning. Good morning, Miss and classmates. I'm going to talk about the fashion industry. And despite the fashion industry being one of the most famous and luxurious, it's the second most polluting industry in the world. And there are many factors that make this possible. For example, the environmental impact and the work exploitation. First, the environmental impact. The environmental impact of the textile industry extends throughout its commercial ecosystem, like from production, distribution, the care and waste processes, and final the disposal. And for example, the, with the current blending, for example, goes hand in hand with the use of pesticides and fertilizers. And this promotes soil degradation. And with the waste from textile factories, the factories drown their cold, dirty water into the rivers and seas. And this is a disadvantage to people who lives or with even the animals who can drive that rivers or oceans. But the problem doesn't end there. When the product is ended, the chlorine pollution doesn't stop when you buy a textile piece. For example, when it's in a shop mall, it uses extremely energy. For example, we are talking about 12 hours per day of a constant light, and this is a waste of energy. Also, even when we wash clothes, we are polluting, and this depends on if we use a dryer or we decide to use a washing machine or not, or we decide to put our clothes in the sun. Because every time we wash a synthetic garment, like polyester, nylon, etc., it takes around 700,000 microfibers into our oceans. And these, for example, the fishes can recently these microfibers were found in fishes, and this is a very bad consequence because we ate that fishes. And another interesting fact that I found is that it can take around 6,000 of liters of water to make just one pair of jeans. But this depends of the kind of jeans and the process, because it can take 1,000 liters or even 10,000 of liters of water. Okay, next point is the work exploitation. The big clothing brands hire cheap labor for exploit them. and not give them a fair wage to finally sell their products at a very high price. And garment workers are often forced to work for around 12 or 16 hours at all day, 7 days a week. For example, some workers in England that work for Sarah are paid 4 pounds of sterling per hour. And to find out the solutions and alternatives. First, we have not to become aware and not to get carried away by the trends or commercials that clothing brands do. Also, don't throw your clothes into the regular bins. You can also donate or repair your clothes. And next time we buy a garment or clothes, we should ask ourselves before, do I really need it? Do I have something similar in my closet? And could I buy it at a thrift store? And to finish, I would like to share a phrase that I like a lot of Mahatma Gandhi. There is no beauty in the finest cloth if it's the cause of hunger and unhappiness. And that's all. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you, Yarlindi. Good topic. And for example, when you talk about thinking before buying, what do you think about those people who are crazy about shopping clothes every weekend?
Well, this is a kind of addiction. It can take off. They need to replace another necessity. For example, I'm feeling ugly and I don't like myself, so I buy a lot of clothes to convince myself that I'm pretty and to try to other people like me.
Okay, thank you. So listen, boys and girls, no, the ones that like shopping every weekend, it is not good, no? Who's next, please?
Me, teacher.
Jorge? Yes.
Yep. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Jorge, I can.
Okay. Good morning, teacher and classmate. My oral presentation is about auto racing. It is a motor sport involving the racing of cars for competition. This sport has existed since the invention of the car, but it was born as reliability test designed to smooth that these new machines were a practical transportation. But they soon became an important means for a car builder to demonstrate their machine's power. First, a bit of history. The first race in history was in April 28 in 1887, France, from Paris to Versailles. Only one car participated, the first specialist racing car, a Dion Button driven by her great George Button. Today, there are different categories, each with different rules and regulations. I will tell you about the most famous from track categories. Formula racing. It is any of several forms of open-wheel motorsport. The best known formulas are Formula One and IndyCar. Formula One. The first official race was a non-championship Grand Prix in Turin in September 1946. Today, there are 10 teams with 2 drivers competing around the world for the Drivers' and Manufacturers' World Championships. IndyCar is the premier level of Formula racing in North America. The sport in general was born in 1905. A typical IndyCar season contains races on a mix of natural terrain, road course, temporary circuits, short or larger track ovals, and high-speed ovals, including the historic Indianapolis 500. Sport car racing is a form of road racing that uses sport car with two seats and inclusive wheels. They may be purpose-built prototype or grand tours based on road models. The sport prototype are two-seater racing car with bodywork covering the wheels and are as technically advanced and depending on standard they are built to as fast or faster than their single-seater counterpart. Grand Touring cars are divided into two groups: the production-based Group 4 Grand Touring cars and Group 5 Special Production cars, which later were essentially purebred racing cars with production look-like bodies. Stock car racing is a form of auto racing runs on oval track and road circuits. It originally used production model cars. That's why the name stock car. But now they race cars built specifically for racing. NASCAR Cup Series is the premier top-level series of professional stock car racing. Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, Brazil, and the United Kingdom also have forms of stock car racing. Finally, kart racing.